only yesterday, but also today, what was discussed was an early warning system, something that prevents future crises. To what extent does this crisis that seems to now actually arrive back home in the mechanical engineering sector, in loss of jobs, to what extent does that, in a way, sort of become important? The iceberg seems to be coming closer, and now you're installing an early warning system only now. Well, but this has played a role, and this is why, as regards those common measures that we adopted in the framework of our fiscal stimulus package, were summed up as here and reflected again in the text. These 250 billion, that means 4% increase of GDP of G20 countries within 2 years, and that shows that we're in good company. If you look at the automatic stabilizers, we have 4.7% that we contributed to it. The President of the Commission explained yet again today that the European Union actually gives quite a considerable contributions to this overall package. So I don't think that we need to, in a way, play down our role. I think that too is reflected in the communiqué. This serves growth, but growth obviously means we want to secure jobs as quickly as possible. And all round, both the industrialized countries, but also the developing countries, said it was of prime importance to them what this means for jobs, that we very quickly need to get back on our feet again, that we need to give a boost to the world economy. And for Germany, this was such a good day because we did everything we could to strengthen trade mechanisms and international exchanges to revive that. We have a problem with our jobs because we have so many jobs that depend primarily on exports. I mean, Canada too has a lot of jobs depending on exports. I also talked to the Brazilian president, but they know that particularly as an export champion, Germany is hard hit by such a crisis. So each and every country that gets back on its feet is actually something of which we benefit, our industry benefits, our jobs. We cannot do away with this crisis overnight. I think we have an obligation to our citizens to say we've done everything we could in order to avoid such a crisis from happening again. So 2 pillars, and if you look at the job pillar and fiscal stimulus pillar, we did not discuss what we've already done. We were commended on that. It was said this was sufficient and good, but the instruments that need to be added to that for those developing countries that out of their own resources will not be able to do the same thing. Madam Chancellor, you just now outlined the role of the American president as something that was very constructive. So he has not tried to convince you of the merit of fiscal stimulus. No, and incidentally, he never did that. Not in the video conferences we had, not in all the other contacts we had. This was never on our agenda. It was time and again brought home to us that we have done a lot, and as an international comparison, I mean, I don't think that we need to make this our own, this sort of debate that we have said what the Americans have done, we've also done. Almost at the same time, we adopted our fiscal stimulus package, our second fiscal stimulus package, that is. And you know that in America, there has been progress on regulation, quite substantial ones that have been announced. So it was a very good cooperation all around. Last question, but one. Madam Chancellor, what happened on the financial markets over the past few weeks and months was called the monster. Has that monster been tamed? Well, it will be tamed because all of that will have to be implemented. Some of those things have already been launched. Some initiatives will still have to be implemented, but I think that people will be much more careful in the future and will be much more transparent, and there will be a level playing field among the industrialized countries, so that you cannot, as Mr. Steinbrück outlined in the beginning, find a place where there is less regulation and where people turn a blind eye to what you're doing. Now, this we tried to a fairly large extent to eradicate, and we now have to obviously be very careful and vigilant to see whether this is actually implemented. Mr. Steinbrück, you mentioned the OECD list. Does that mean that countries such as Switzerland will be brought through this list into a place where you want them to be? And what if they don't cooperate? Are you from northern Germany? I am actually quite interested to see what sort of offers Switzerland will put on the table. Let me tell you very openly, they will have to prove that they will not only announce to abide by OECD standards, but that they will come quite quickly to the sort of result that I think is necessary, and not over a period of 4 or 5 years in the course of negotiations of a double taxation agreement, for example. I'm not the one who would sort of play for time on that. We'll think about it. Well, says the Chancellor, it's quite clear. Switzerland, let me put it my way, Switzerland has made a first step, which, as the step that other countries have made, will only be properly gauged in its importance once this has been implemented.